Welcome in to NFL Week 2 preview / guessing the lines with Uncle Phil and the newest member of our family, The Sticks. Thanks for joining us this evening. Uncle Phil, The Sticks, how's it going?
Good, man. Super excited. It's not often, we have such a tight-knit group that we don't get the opportunity to introduce a new member of the family. But this is John. We affectionately call him Sticks. Sticks is one of the best guys I know, and he and I, we semi-work together, but we mostly talk football. So this is just going to be a continuation of this. You guys get to listen to this, and I'm happy to introduce Sticks to you guys because you guys are just going to love him. All except Dallas Cowboy fans. They're not going to love Sticks too much, and 3/4 of the AFC North is not going to love him either. So, Sticks, welcome in. Thank you for joining. Thank you for taking this journey with us this year in 2025. We are so grateful to have you, man, and I am so glad to introduce you to the world because, like I said, they're going to get to know one of the greatest guys I know.
Oh, thanks, Uncle Phil. It's great to be here. Couldn't be happier. I don't remember a year that I've been this excited to watch games and talk to you about football. So glad to be here, and we'll have some fun tonight.
Yeah, it's going to be a blast.
Well, guys, I'm looking forward to hearing what you guys have to say about Week 2 after a pretty crazy Week 1, to say the least. Uncle Phil, Sticks, take it away. I'm going to jump down.
Yep.
Yeah, so Uncle Phil, we got a Thursday night game tomorrow. We got Washington at Green Bay, Commanders at Packers. I thought the Pack looked real good the other night. Washington, maybe not as good as they were at the end of the season last year, but I think a little time to gel and have Jaden come back to his form from last year. Guessing lines, my guess was Green Bay -1.5. What do you got?
Yeah, I got Green Bay at -3, and I guess the total at 45.5. Look, I'm real interested to see what this line is. I think that both teams coming off a win, but I think a lot of people didn't expect this to be the way it was, right? The Green Bay's a little better than people thought they would be. And even though Washington covered the spread last week, Jaden Daniels did not have a Jaden Daniels-esque performance last week. So I'm looking forward to seeing what this line's going to be and where Vegas set it and where the public's bet it to now.
That's right. Well, you hit the nail on the head. It's Packers -3.
Okay. What's the total on this one? Do you know?
48.5.
48.5. So I'm a little low on that one, a little higher on that one. It'd be interesting to see how that is going to go. This line actually opened -2.5, and it also opened at 48.5. So the total stayed the same, really hadn't moved. The line has come up, not surprisingly, from Green Bay. A lot of excitement about this. Tell me what you thought about the Washington game and Jaden Daniels. Anything about the Washington game when they played the Giants? It was at home. Again, they covered the spread. And just kind of a recap for everybody. It was 8-8 last week as far as favorites and underdogs. So really no net effect there. Interesting because typically underdogs cover big in the first week. Didn't really happen as much this time. In one of the games, I was kind of irritated that the favorite didn't cover, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But what really was a big deal is that the unders covered at an unprecedented rate, 12-4 to the unders as far as the total. So it'll be interesting to see if Vegas sets the lines low and if it snaps back, or if it does take, because of preseason shortened and not a lot of starters are playing, if it does take a while for the lines to catch, the offenses to catch up and the totals to come back.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think Terry McLaurin had a huge game last week, but Debo was looking good, bringing Debo. That was a good move. So, I just think they need a little time to gel and, like I said, get back to their form they were in at the end of last season. Well-coached team, Made a couple decent moves. It's hard to tell for me from the game last week with the Giants also because, I don't have a lot of faith in Russ as a Steeler fan. So,
Yeah.
I'll be interested to see what they do against Green Bay.
Yeah, certainly. New York Giants is not didn't do what they were supposed to do last week, and of course Russ is really, this feels like his farewell tour this week. This year. I just doubt. I don't know that. That coaching staff in New York is under fire, so I don't even know if we'll see Russ much longer anyway. But that's a whole different deal. Sticking on with the Commanders, Jayden Daniels, 19 of 30, just 63% completion rate. And just kind of put that in perspective for people is that for elite, you need to be above 68 percentage as far as completion percentage. Average is 65 to 67. Below average is 65 to 68, and kind of a developing or above average is 60. Or about average is that's above average, 65 to 68. But below average is 58 to 64, and it's really for developing quarterbacks and somebody who's probably like a Russ and not just doing well. Jayden Daniels again was 63%. So he kind of really falls into that average category. Even the below average in developing. So, this is unlike him. He was this high completion rate percentage last year. So I know that the Giants have got an amazing front seven. I'm sure that had something to do with it. But I'm interested to see if that continues this week and carries on. But like you, a couple players stood out. Certainly loved Debo coming back, him having a good year. I think San Francisco kind of just thought, obviously they paid Purdy, but they thought he was expendable and traded him off, and excited. Hopefully he has a good year this year. Also like their new running back. The 7th round addition goes by Bill Krosky Merritt. So interesting to see what they end up doing. What do you think about Green Bay? Are they for real? Because, I feel like they immediately jumped to the Super Bowl favorite, and I'm just not sure how they're going to be. Do you think that they're really for real this year?
Yeah, I think they are. After 1 week, they're looking like the best team in the division. Getting Parsons initially, I was like, this is amazing. And then you hear about the back injury, and
Yep.
We'll see how that goes. But game like next week, having Parsons chasing Daniels around, that's gonna help keep him off his game a little bit, help the Packers out. Jordan Love, he's solid. He shows up every week. I like the Packers a lot this year. I think the last week it might have been Detroit being off as much as it was Green Bay playing well.
Yeah.
But we'll have some of those questions answered this week.
100%. This will be a good test. You know what first week week one is? Week one is like your ex. They're a dirty little liar, right? So I just don't think we know exactly. So look, hopefully you won money on Sunday and you did well throughout the NFL weekend, but just kind of throw it away, because don't make any broad sweeping assumptions, because you never know who is going to be there. Again, Jordan Love with an elite performance. Jordan Love was 16 of 22 for 73%. Again, that's elite as far as that. So understand that with the excitement of that, of what's going on. We will see what happened. Interesting enough, Goff had a very elite night there as well. I think he was 31 of 39, so really strong performance. But the problem with Detroit is they were only 1 of 4 in the red zone. So you really saw the evidence of Ben Johnson not being there showing up, because, obviously, between the 20s, pretty easy to move in a lot of cases. It's when you get to the 20-yard line that those defenses get condensed. Is can you make that extra 20 yards and get into the end zone? And that's where Ben Johnson, those elite play callers, were there. And I think that's what Detroit's missing. So I won't say that I certainly believe that Jayden Daniels will bring a different element. and Detroit showed they were capable of getting the end zone. They just couldn't finish the deal. Will Washington be able to do that? I'm excited to see this. I certainly right now lean toward the home team, but I wouldn't be surprised at all to see Washington make this a game out of it. Wouldn't be at all surprised if they came out with a victory. But Jaden Daniels is going to have to throw a lot better than he did against the Giants.
No doubt, for sure. All right, moving on to the second game, we got the Bills at the Jets. Phil, I had this one at +5. The Jets +5, Bills -5. What are you thinking?
Yeah, look, I think my guess is the Bills -7, and I've got a total of 45.
Close again, very close again. Actual was Bills -6.5. Total is 46.5.
46.5. It opened Bills -8.5 and a total of 44.5. And you said it's 46.5 now?
46.5 now. Yep. And the Jets the Bills at -6.5. Yeah.
Yeah, that total's really jumped. No surprising after Pittsburgh laid so many points on the Jets. Cornerbacks, did not play well. I didn't feel like the defense played well at all against Pittsburgh, and certainly Bills have capability of doing that. But the Bills' back end is not that great either. Tell me, you're a Steelers fan.
Yeah.
What was your impression of the Jets?
Well, they made our defense look pretty bad. They were making big gaps. They were getting through. Brees was running all over. Justin Fields was running all over. Justin looked great. I mean, his legs were working. His arm was working.
Statistically, his best game of his career.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, I believe it. Yeah, he looked awesome.
Yep.
And seemingly has made some connections with some guys on the team that, that maybe Aaron didn't last year. So there seems to be good chemistry. I thought they looked really good.
Yeah, 100%. So, do you think the Bills? I mean, it's division rivalry. You think the Bills can go into the Jets and actually cover the spread on this one, or do you think that? Or first of all, let's just say, do you think that they will win?
I think the Bills will win.
Yeah. So the question is that do you think that they've got enough juice to cover the spread, or will there? Just like in anything, these pro athletes are no different than the college athletes. You typically see a big win and a little bit of a letdown the next week. Will there be a letdown this week, or do you think the Bills are dialed in and they've got Super Bowl on their mind and this team's on a mission? What do you think?
There was so much steam at the end of that last game. I think they carried over to this next one, and I don't think they're going to have a problem. Initially I had it -5, not -6.5.
Yeah.
So, I don't know about that 6.5. I mean, yeah, they could definitely do it, but I think it's a lock for the win. I'm just 6.5. I don't know. It's a little rich.
Yeah, it is. I mean, obviously that's on there. So you're talking about on neutral field. They're saying the Jets or the Bills would be 9.5, and at home they would be 12.5. So you kind of put that in perspective. And that's a lot of points, double digits. You're kind of getting that in the NFL. That's a lot, especially against a division rivalry that knows you very, very well. So it'll be interesting. A lot of teams take this big jump. We typically see the biggest jump between week 1 and week 2, and then week 3 is desperation, which adds a whole new level of things. And then we kind of settle in as week 4 and beyond. The teams that are bad realize at that point they know they're bad. The other teams, so they don't play as up to things, but you can't go 0-3 in the NFL. 0-2 is not a bad thing either. So you certainly see that the Jets have a lot on the line this week to do that. They kind of feel like after they saw New England this past week, New England didn't have a good showing at home, that the Jets potentially could take that second place there. And, with as bad as the NFC East is, because Miami certainly looks like they're not going to win a game. I mean, they look terrible. I can't imagine that Mike McDaniel lasts through the entire season. Looks like kind of a complete culture train wreck there. People have caught on to his motion. They understand that, they kind of built non-traditionally in Miami. I know I'm kind of off topic a little bit, but Miami, they built non-traditionally. They built, offensive coaches typically build like Ben Johnson did this year from the inside out. That offensive line is solidified. Then let's add that. They just added the speedboats on the outside and forgot the offensive line. And Tua doesn't have much time to throw. And certainly he's not athletic enough to get away from people. So it's the quick read, right? So all those cornerbacks just play, all those D-backs just play in tight and just up against those receivers. So it's one look. And if you jam the primary read, I think Xavier Howard came out this week, his Colts DB, and just said, hey, once we took his primary read away, he panicked. So again, I think that's a little bit of an issue. But I do think that, getting back to the Bills-Jets game, I think that, again, statistically, Justin Fields had the best of his career. He was 16 of 22, 73% accuracy. Again, NFL elite. Josh Allen, of course, we know he's elite. We didn't need numbers to tell us that, but the numbers also back that up as well. So, look, I'm looking for this. It is a division game. The Jets have a lot to play for, again, because Miami is such a train wreck. The Patriots look like they're rebuilding and not quite there yet. So the Jets, they have an opportunity to get some wins this year inside the division and potentially, wouldn't surprise me if they can potentially vie for a playoff team. So I certainly think that they're there right now.
Yeah, we were talking. Vera Tucker, we thought that would be a huge loss, right?
Yeah.
I didn't see it. Their offensive line looked good last week. So, I think they'll.
The biggest surprise was the defense. They brought in, had a lot of the same guys from last year. You brought in Aaron, your defensive coordinator from Detroit. You brought in him, and you bring him in, and you think that defense is going to be all of a sudden elite, and then they give up 33 to the Steelers. So that was a little bit of surprise to me. Like you, we thought the problem would be, that right side of the line with AVT gone, but in fact, it was the defense that was the issue.
Right. Well, that's a good segue, Phil, because next we got our third game here: Patriots at the Dolphins.
Okay. I feel like we just kind of covered that. We won't make this too painful. We won't belabor this too much. What is your guess on this one?
I got the Dolphins plus 1.5.
I have got it's a home game and a division game, and it's always hot and humid in September. South Florida is a tough place to play from a northern team to come down there in the humidity and play in September. Just like it's tough to go to Denver before these athletes get in fully shape in September as well.
Yeah,
I actually put Miami at -0.5 point, and I put the total at 41.5.
So the actual was the Pats plus 1.5.
Really?
And the total we got 43.5.
Okay, so Miami is favored?
No. Yeah, Miami's favored.
Miami's favored by 1.5.
1.5.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, so that's kind of about what I thought. Again, an interesting deal. They were initially favored, opened at 2.5 and 44.5 as far as total. What's the total on this one?
43.5.
Not surprised it came down. Miami's offense is inept. Again, New England didn't look like they had Drake May didn't have a really good day, had a really bad day. Vrabel has come out since, not only post game, but also came out again yesterday and said that Drake May just didn't have he just needs to let it go, and he's thinking too much. So it's that he seems very hesitant. So it's really more of an above the shoulders issue with him, and hopefully they can Josh McDaniels can get that straightened out. Certainly seemed like he had all the talent in the world last year. Hopefully this is a good fit. Sometimes it's not, but we'll see. But I certainly didn't think that was too promising. What did you think about? Give me your feelings about both these teams.
Well, I don't think it's going to be a sophomore slump for Drake May. I think he'll have a little time to get going here, but I feel good about Vrabel.
Yep.
And the Patriots aren't there yet, but I think they're on their way. And if Drake finds a groove and gets some things going here, the Dolphins were clearly missing Ramsey last week. I'm not complaining, but
I see a smile on your face,
Yeah.
especially that last hit that he did.
Oof.
Well, it's a whole different issue. We'll stay on topic.
We'll get there. We'll get there.
We'll get there. Okay. Well, no, I totally agree. Miami's got a ton of injuries. They've got two cornerbacks that did not practice this week. They've got Ethan Bonner and, of course, the infamous Storm Duck that did not practice as well, which is the funniest name in NFL football, I think. But anyway, both those guys did not practice, and if Miami's secondary is not bad enough, this kind of feels like a get-right game for New England, right? But, I mean, can they cope with the Miami humidity? And typically it's a second half part where that monkey jumps on your back and you just can't get off of that. Humidity kind of wears out because it's typically kind of close. If this game's closed at halftime, this is probably where an opportunity where I would look at this game and potentially jump in is that I would look at this game and go, hey, this game, if it's close at halftime, then I'd probably lean toward Miami because Miami is used to that humidity. New England's not. You just can't practice and cope for that. So that's kind of what I'm looking at. Any last thoughts before we move on these two teams?
I think we've had enough Patriots and Dolphins. We can go to game 4.
They got to win a game before we give them 5 minutes.
That's right.
That's right.
4th game, Uncle Phil. We have the Jacksonville Jaguars at the Cincinnati Bengals. I had Cincinnati -5. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I've got Cincinnati. I think I would have done that, but I thought that Cincinnati looked really bad. I mean, we all heard all this noise about Zach Taylor going to change this. They're going to start fast, and I'm not sure they looked any better than they did last year against the Patriots. And they should have gotten beat this year. They should have gotten beat by the Browns, and we'll talk about that here in a second. But I've got them. I got Cincinnati at 3.5, and I've got a total at 47.5.
You hit the number again. It's Cincinnati -3.5. Total is 48.5.
48.5. Interesting. Well, I don't know. I mean, what are your thoughts? I mean, Jacksonville, on one hand, again, just put it on last week, and it was phenomenal. But again, they played the lowly Panthers,
right?
Who are just looked awful. Again, we'll save that for when they talk about them. So I don't really know if week 1 is lying to me, with Jacksonville. So I don't know about that, but I know that what's not lying to me is Cincinnati. Cincinnati does not look like, a playoff team to me. I had them finishing second in the AFC North above your beloved Steelers. And I think I may reverse that after seeing that. I just can't see that they're actually going to be that. And I actually wouldn't be surprised if the Browns beat them. Browns look frisky. Joe Flacco looked good. Yeah, I mean, look, they win. If the Browns have a reliable kicker, they win. Also, Joe Flacco threw 2 interceptions, but it's only because they went off the Browns wide receivers' hands and they popped up in the air and the DB's caught them because those should have been catches and they shouldn't have been interceptions. But again, Joe Flacco had a really good day, but really disappointed in how that turned out and really disappointed in the Bengals because, man, I'm the hugest Joe Burrow fan, but I'm kind of getting Cincinnati fatigue that, gosh, you got to show me something to keep me entertained, and I'm just not seeing it with them. Do you believe, both these teams win? Both these teams won, clearly coming in 1-0. We'll give them more times than the Patriots and the Dolphins, but for you, do you believe in either one of these teams?
I can't say I believe in the Jags. We were talking about Carolina and the Jags last week,
Yeah.
and personally, I really didn't know exactly how that was going to go. That was a tough one for me. I might have been leaning ever so slightly towards the Jags, but still a tough one. Cincinnati, historically slow starter, but Burrow's still Burrow. I think we're going to see some more points this week. I think Cincinnati is gonna pull it off, and I like that over too.
Be really interesting. I think they certainly have the potential to, but my gosh, I mean, Cincinnati's defense is bad. Again, same old Bengals. Like, defense is still bad, and the offensive line is just going to get Joe Burrow decapitated. I mean, there was that one hit where it just depleted him. I mean, it was hit of the year already on quarterback. I just don't see how Joe Burrow survives. So I hope he's got some good guaranteed money, because I think he's going to need it, because, again, Bengals are just a cheap organization that just continue to let one of the NFL's top quarterbacks in their prime just sit there and rot away. It feels like Carson Palmer 2.0.
Yeah.
I'm all for Joe Burrow retiring and going to another organization, because, if they're not going to step up. I mean, Cincinnati, obviously a pretty big story with them. Just kind of give everybody, the audience, a little bit perspective on how cheap Cincinnati is. When the media guides, everybody went to color except one team, color media guides, and that was Cincinnati Bengals, because they were just like, it was too expensive. They had to actually sell the naming rights to the stadium to pay Joe Burrow. So, again, just other examples. I mean, there's tons of examples there, but just really tough deal. Feel bad for the Cincinnati Bengals fans. Anyway, any final thoughts before we move on?
No, just maybe, if your premonition actually comes true and Burrow leaves the AFC North, I guess I wouldn't be upset about that. So,
yeah.
Thank you for putting that out in the universe, Uncle Phil.
Putting it out there.
All right, game 5. We got the Cleveland Browns at the Baltimore Ravens. I had the Ravens at -9.5.
Yeah, no, I think that's probably a pretty good bet. I went a point higher. I went to -10.5, and I put the total at 43.5. What say you?
The actual line, Ravens were -11.5, and our total is 45.5. So they were even 2 points up on me and a point up on you.
45.5.
45.5 for the total.
Interesting. It actually opened at 12.5 and 44.5. So one's come down a little bit. The side's going down. The side totals come up. Did I just forget? And the Ravens defense is not that good. Because when did the Ravens really not had a good defense? It just feels like they can't get a pass rush. What are your impressions of the Ravens? I mean, look, Lamar's our world. I can't wait for them to get Isaiah Likely back. I mean, he's phenomenal tight end, really, really good. I mean, you've got obviously Derrick Henry, heartbroken for him that he fumbled that ball. Yeah. I know. I mean, that's, it is what it is. John Harbaugh, I just, has blown more double digits leads than any other coach in the past 25 years. So I never understand why he didn't go for it on fourth down there. You just don't give the ball back to Josh Allen. I mean, it's just to me that's a really tough decision. I think Lamar took some pressure off John Harbaugh for that decision. Came out today and said, "Hey, I was cramping, and had I not been cramping, we probably would have gone for it on fourth down." I'm just like, give the guy some pickle juice. Let's get this going. Give him something, give him some Gatorade. Let's do this. I mean, surely you've got something to give quarterback some cramps to get him from doing that, because it's literally one first down in victory formation, and just didn't work out. So that's unfortunate. But tell me again, I've kind of gone on and on, but tell me again about the Ravens defense. What's the issue? Are they just not that good?
I don't think so. It's, I don't think they're that great, and, most definitely overshadowed by what the Ravens were doing last week on offense. My Lord, Lamar, what was his QB rating? 140 last week? Something like that. I mean, the guy was playing out of his mind. Derrick Henry, he looks like a, varsity player playing with JV kids. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Ravens, it's a division game. You know, even if the Browns are terrible and the Ravens are the class of the NFL, you know, it could still be a close game. You know, like you said, I also have some faith in Flacco, and he looked okay. So I think this one, you know, Ravens most definitely are going to pull it out, but yikes, 11.5. I think that's
A lot of points.
a lot of points.
A lot of points for especially for that black and blue division, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Good enough.
All right, game 6. Giants at Cowboys. My second favorite team. just
Who's that? The Giants?
yeah. So Phil, I had the Cowboys -5.
Yep. I'm with you. I've had 5.5, and I've got total of 45.
Actual was -6. Cowboys -6. Total
Wow.
46.5.
Wow, that's climbed a lot. Well, I guess not. Opened at 4, so it has climbed, and 45.5. Tell me this. I mean, Russell had the lowest rating of any quarterback this past week. How much leash does he have? I mean, this is a Giants organization, a GM included, coach and GM included, their package deal. I mean, kind of, you know, in this situation, I think they're both battling this from the same standpoint. How much do you think leash that they have where Jackson Dart? I mean, because I think that's the danger if you take the Cowboys in this game, is that they're after the game, Brian Daboll would not commit to Russell Wilson being the starter for this week, and then a couple of days later, things passed, and he's like, "Yep, Russell's going to be the starter." But I know people in that organization, and I know personally that Daboll did go in and ask permission to start Jackson Dart because he does not see the future with that, and his request is denied. You know, so I think that they kind of feel like, hey, Andrew Thomas, their star left tackle, was out this past week. It looks like he's going to be back this week. Has a good chance of playing, and so we'll watch that injury report. And if he does, and if Russ struggles in the first half, wouldn't be surprised at all to see Jackson Dart come out. So if you want to play first half Cowboys and then kind of assess at halftime to see where things are, wouldn't be surprised if we see Jackson Dart in the second half and may take the Giants then. So I think that'd probably be a good way to play it. It's kind of what I'm thinking. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I don't think the leash is going to be long. Russ looks exactly like he looked, you know, the end of last year. You know, unfortunately, I think he's just, you know, at the end of the road. You know, and they got some, you know, some neighbors. They got some other talent that's not going to let it go with, you know, a quarterback that can't get him the ball.
That's right.
On the flip side, you know, I thought Dak looked pretty good last week. You know,
look, Dallas, he looked outstanding. I think that's a great point because Dak looked really good. I think a lot of people said Dak's washed and everything and not, but Dak looked really good. The offensive line looked good again, but it was without Jalen Carter on the other side penetrating because of that stupid decision that he made to spit on Dak. And so we really don't know. That's another little lie that we were going to have to ferret out. But there's no doubt about it that the Giants are going to bring in the heat this week because their front seven's as nasty as anybody in football.
Yep.
A little side note to that, Dexter Lawrence didn't look like himself, and he's been he was do not practice earlier in the week this week, said personal, and the personal's been taken off, but he did not practice again on Wednesday. So that's something else that, you know, if he doesn't play for whatever reason, you know, that opens up things for Dallas and gives them an opportunity to kind of have an Eagle-like defensive line face them again. I mean, they're still better, I think, than the Eagles. They've still got they've got other players on that defensive line, but you know, we'll see how that goes. But I really like. I think Dallas should have beaten Philadelphia. Should have beaten them. It was there for the taking. We'll see who these teams really are, but I think they both have got to be encouraged because Washington didn't have a good game. And, the Giants, I think that they all felt like, again, they're also in the red zone. Russ didn't convert some red zone opportunities that would have put them right in the game. They're not far away as some people think. And then, of course, the Eagles didn't look as good as we kind of thought they were. A lot of those attrition, especially on the defensive front, took a toll this year. They spent the least amount of cap money in the entire NFL on their defense. So their defense is vulnerable. We saw that just with one player. They signed Zadarius Smith this week. They realized Howie Roseman figured that out. They also signed Tank Bigsby as well. But we'll see. I think both these teams are going to be super encouraged, even though they both lost last week, that this NFC East is not as impenetrable with Washington and Philadelphia. I think they both got a lot to play for here.
Yeah, I mean, CD, I think he had 3 drops last week. I don't think he's ever had 3 drops in a game.
It's 3 or 4, depending if you count that last one that some people count. But it's certainly 3 or 4. But you're right; it just didn't look like normal CD. If he catches one of those balls, potentially it's a different game.
It's a different game, right? And George Pickens on the other side. We know about George, and unfortunately, I think this problem where if he knows the ball's not coming to him, he kind of takes the play off. That's an issue. Because then you're not drawing anybody to help your other guys. So, hopefully they talk some sense into George and have him running some good routes this week. And CD doesn't make those drops. I like the Cowboys.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think the Cowboys have got a lot of potential. I'll say one last final thing and shut up about it. But I have to say this, is that I had just been really down on Schottenheimer as a coach. And I was super impressed with Schottenheimer's coach. Dallas looked extremely well buttoned up. Dallas was the least penalized team versus the Eagles. And they were on the road. I thought that they looked really, really buttoned up. And if Eberflus had the defense, great. But if he had just remembered a simple concept to have a spy on Jalen Hurts, then the Cowboys probably win that game too. So 2 things: CeeDee Lamb catches passes, to your point, and Eberflus has a spy on Jalen Hurts because Jalen Hurts ate him up, and that was the difference in the game.
All right, our next one, we have the Rams at the Titans. Uncle Phil, I had the Titans +4, Rams -4. What are you thinking?
Look, I think this game's super interesting. I've got Rams at 5, and I got a total at 41.
You're right there. Rams are -5.5.
Okay.
Total is 41.5.
Yeah. Look, I think this is a super interesting game. 41.5.
41.5.
Yeah, that total's plummeted. It was started off originally at 5.5, so no movement there. But the total was originally at 46. So that line has rocketed down. Nobody can block Jeffrey Simmons on the line for the Titans. I mean, he's just a monster there, and just gave Bo Nix fits all last week. And then the Rams, their defense is so young and so aggressive. It's amazing. Last week, Cam Ward, it was like a sea of orange rushing him the entire time. And then you had, with the Rams, again, their offensive line is not that great. It's not great. Larry Jackson's had blood clots on and off all through camp. And Haberstein on the other side is just not as he's kind of up in age and kind of past his senior years. They've got the center from the Bears last year that the Bears just Ben Johnson knew that he wasn't the guy and got rid of him. So I just don't think they've got kind of a patchwork line as well. And you've got Stafford with back issues. Look, I think the Titans, this is one of those regional games that people probably didn't watch last week, the Titans and the Broncos. It was just not very entertaining. It wasn't just a great, unless you had the Broncos and Peyton elected not to kick the field goal at the end to make it and he got across the 50, which was bizarre to me. I think it's one of those bizarre moves for a coach that everybody is. I mean, he's handily a first ballot Hall of Famer, and he didn't make that. That's a whole different issue. But look, this is a game that I think people will look at, and they'll see Cam Ward. They'll look at his completion percentage last week, and let's see, where is he? He was Cam Ward was 12 of 28 for 43%, which is just terrible, right? But if you had actually watched the games, you realize his receivers dropped several passes, and he was just under duress the entire time. But I think they've got their quarterback there. I think he's outstanding, and we'll see. But I think this is a really interesting line. And for me, at least early on, I kind of leaned toward the underdog. Did you get a chance to catch any of that game with the Titans and the Broncos?
Very, very little, essentially highlights. But, it ended up being closer than I thought it was going to be. That's one where I, like probably most people, thought the Broncos were going to pull away, It stayed a little closer than I thought. I think the Titans would cover this week at -5.5. I still have some questions about the Rams.
Me too.
I'm not there yet.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I mean, look, it's that offensive line. It doesn't impress me. That's the weak point of their system. But I'm not surprised that total, based on what we've seen, the offensive line potentially not protecting Cam as much, his receivers not catching the ball, and then coupled with Stafford not being able to have the time to throw the ball. I can understand why that total's come down. That's potentially attractive. I'm not sure it's come down enough. So that's, for me, what I'm kind of looking at right now.
Good deal. All right, our 8th game, Phil. We got the Chicago Bears at the Detroit Lions. I had the Lions, Phil, at -4.5.
For me, I've got the Lions at 5.5, and I've got the total at 47.
The actual line is Lions -6, and our total is 46.5.
46.5. Interesting. This is one that's interesting to me. I can certainly see. Well, just tell me your impressions. We talked a little bit earlier about Detroit. Like I said, I'm very concerned when I've been saying all season that you lost too many people, massive brain drain. You lost 2 coordinators plus 6 other assistant coaches, and then you lost so much on the interior line, especially with Frank Ragnow retiring after the draft. So they didn't get a chance to draft a center. And so, that's led to some things, but, I'm concerned there. Caleb Williams looked really good on script in the first half. In the second half, when he was back off script, and it's like back to his own devices again, he looked like the same quarterback last year. He couldn't throw it across the living room and hit the TV. I mean, it was just really bad. Tell me your impressions of Caleb and the Chicago Bears.
Yeah, Caleb, the wheels definitely looked good last week. I mean, he was running and scrambling and getting away from everybody and getting first downs, and that was great. But I could feel Ben Johnson's pain in that second half. I mean, Caleb goes back to that schoolyard stuff, and it's just like you said, not staying on script. But this is Ben Johnson saying it's a must win. He's coming home. And, I'm sure he'll have some tricks up his sleeve for his old team. And, I think the Bears, they'll put up a good fight, but I don't think it's going to be enough. I think the Lions probably cover even at that higher number.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised at all because, again, you saw the Achilles heel of Caleb really come through, and the Achilles heel, and I think Ben Johnson already knows this, because obviously super smart guy, right? Probably, I mean, the sharpest offensive coordinator last year in the entire NFL, and just taking his pick as far as head coaches jobs. But Caleb, what Brian Flores figured out is that first half didn't blitz him and let him just create and go out of the pocket. And, Caleb almost feels very comfortable outside the pocket throwing. He looks really good doing that. It's kind of what his normal, kind of his MO is, and what he's done in college, what he did in high school, certainly what he did last year to no success. But if you leave him in the pocket and ask him to throw to spots on the field without running around, it just was night and day difference. So Brian Flores dialed up the blitz in the second half, made him stay in the pocket and throw the ball, and he looked like last year. He looked like hot garbage. But again, it'll be interesting to see, switching over to Detroit. I am certainly concerned about how they're going to do and how they're going to be now without that, because again, moving the ball in the 20s is good enough, but I mean, we expect NFL teams to do that. But it's just like the golf saying, the drive for show, putt for dough, I think. And it's kind of the red zone mentality as well. If once you get in the red zone, that's when the real game starts. That's when it happens. And look, if you go back statistically and look at that game with that Detroit played last week, with Green Bay, they actually led time of possession. They led first downs. They did everything they're right, but they just couldn't convert inside the red zone. That 1 of 4 in the red zone really just crushed them last week. And I think that's the opportunity. And can Johnny Morton kind of grow in that position? You kind of look for complementary pieces. Ben Johnson and Dan Campbell are kind of yin and yang, right? You've got Dan Campbell, this high culture guy. This guy here is, leads the team, do it. Johnny Morton, if you've ever seen him interviewed, he is more kind of that Dan Campbell guy. He's kind of a rah-rah guy. He's not this cerebral guy like Ben Johnson. And I think that's a problem for them. And I just wonder, is it going to be another Eagles 2.0 where they'd replace both coordinators, and by week 10, everybody realize you're pulling the plug and it's disaster. It's a reboot. Let's bring in the coordinators rather than just promoting somebody up. Let's go out and make a real good search, because you've got the talent. Detroit still seems they have the talent. I'm just not sure. I know you feel pretty strongly about them covering the spread. I kind of like the total a little bit. I think these teams will score some points, but again, I'm not sure I trust either one of them to throw my hard-earned money at. So yeah, I'll probably watch from the sidelines. We'll see. It's a long way from here to Sunday, but we'll see.
Yeah. Okay. Number 9, we got the Seattle Seahawks at the Pittsburgh Steelers. I had the Steelers minus 20. No, I'm just minus 3. And Steelers minus 3.
Yeah, I had the same thing. I've got Steelers minus 3, and I've got a total. My guess is 39.
So the actual line is minus 3 for the Steelers, and the total is 40.5.
Boy, that seems like a lot of points for this team. I mean, the unlike the Jets, tell me your thoughts. The Seahawks seem like they have got a killer defense.
Yeah, I mean,
much offense
up front, maybe. I don't know too much about their secondary. I got to admit, I don't follow the Seahawks too close. Cooper Kupp, he's great. I'd like to see him do some good things there. I think he's a great player. Sam Darnold, finished that last game last year. Oof. And I don't know. I don't know how Sam Darnold's going to work out with the Seahawks, but he's got a lot of potential. He could come alive anytime. Rodgers, we know he can throw for scores. So, hey, listen, we thought last week too, that Steelers, it might be a real low scoring game, and they went and scored 60 some points combined. So, I don't think that's going to happen again this week. But 40 and a half, gosh, Uncle Phil, I think we could creep over that.
Really? Okay. Well, it'd be interesting. I mean, Roger certainly looked like it was kind of a blast from the past, kind of pushed the sun up a little bit further in the sky, and he's not ready for it to go down on him yet. You know, again, first Pittsburgh quarterback to throw 4 TDs and no interceptions since Ben Roethlisberger. So really super exciting to see him do that. You know, and he makes it so effortlessly. It's a flick of his wrist and does that. But he is a little statuesque now back there. It'll be interesting to see if Seattle noticed that as well, which I'm sure they do. They're NFL coaches more than I can see things, and will apply the blitz and force him to run. So we'll see how that works out. But always best of luck to your Steelers. But I think they're in for a tussle this weekend.
Yeah, it's gonna be a tough one. You know, we can't have Jones giving up 3 sacks again. You know, hopefully Benton will have a better game, you know, if he's playing the nose. You know, secondary, I thought looked pretty good. You know, our running game was non-existent. Something's got to happen there. I mean, something's got to give. I heard mixed things. You know, you thought Caleb was having a decent preseason, and then as of late, you know, I've been hearing more like it's a bust. So, you know, we'll have to see what comes of that. But you know, I like the Steelers in a close one, and I think if you know, it goes back and forth like last week, we might get a few more points than we thought.
Well, I never would expect you not to say the Steelers. That's why you're a Steelers diehard. I love it. All right, let's move on.
All right. Number 10, Phil, we got San Francisco 49ers at the New Orleans Saints. I had the Saints with a point. I had the Saints +1.
Wow, pretty close. Saints with arguably one of the worst or oldest rosters out there right now. I've got San Francisco. I've got a -4, and I've got 43.5 as a total.
I was higher initially, but with Purdy being questionable, you know, Kittle's on the IR, Purdy's questionable. If Purdy doesn't play, you know, I think the Saints could pull an upset.
Look, to me, I'm with you. What was the total in that game?
Saints, that one is 40.5 as well.
40.5. So not surprised. That's come down a lot. That actually opened at 7. San Francisco -7, obviously Brock Purdy and Kittle getting injured. And total was 45. So that's pretty significant drop there. But again, I'm with you. San Francisco looked, you know, not that great last week. Pulled something out. Brock Purdy's getting a lot of credit, but I think he threw a Hail Mary in the end zone, and Kittle's replacement grabbed it and got it in. So we'll see how that actually translates. I'm with you, though. I think New Orleans is frisky. People didn't watch that New Orleans-Arizona game, but New Orleans gave Arizona all they wanted and a little bit more. And Rattler looked good. He looked more than serviceable. He's got a good arm, and his biggest thing is he couldn't throw under pressure. I saw him under pressure several times with Arizona, and he was able to make some plays. I think you're right on that. I think that this is a frisky underdog that a lot of people won't bet. I think a lot of people are going to take San Francisco in their survivor pool this weekend, and they may wake up on Monday without a team. So I'm with you. I think this is a dangerous game for them. I would lean toward the underdog as well. You know, it was no secret that in the draft that Shanahan and wanted Mac Jones. You know, wanted to draft. So we finally get to see Mac Jones in a Shanahan offense. We'll see. But again, you know, Kittle's on the IR. Shanahan came out today and said Brock Purdy could have been out multiple weeks. So we're going to get a good feel for what the 49ers are going to look like this week and potentially for a few weeks more.
Yeah, I think Purdy's got a couple things going on. Toes and
left shoulder and toe, and Shanahan said the toe is worst. So we'll see how that goes. but this could be a tough situation for the 49ers right now. Very tricky. That dome gets loud. Those people in New Orleans, they are fierce fans, and it should be a fun one.
Good deal. All right, let's see. I think that brings us to our afternoon games, our primetime games, Uncle Phil.
Nice.
So we got. Let's see here. We got Carolina Panthers at the Cardinals.
Doesn't exactly feel like a primetime game, but since it's Arizona, it starts late.
Right. I had Cardinals -4.
I've got the Cardinals -6.5, and I've got a total at 44.
Well, I trust you because I think the Cardinals were your lock last week. They were. Yeah. I think the Panthers are gonna put up a little bit more of a fight. I still think they got a couple good pieces here. But I think there's a lot to like about the Cardinals this year.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're going to have a decent year. I like the over in this one. I like the over on that 43.5.
I think that could probably work again. I thought the over was going to cover last week in the Carolina-Jacksonville. It turned out Carolina did not hold up their end of the deal.
No.
Bryce Young, only quarterback that rivaled Caleb Williams as far as having the worst week in the NFL. Well, him and Tua, right? So it was just a bad week, all of them. Tua barely had a pulse as far as the QBR rating. So, again, not a very good week. I like where you're thinking about that, but can Bryce Young and the Cardinals score, or the Bryce Young and the Panthers actually score some points? Because I feel like that if you're going to get over that total, Carolina's going to have to do some heavy, or Arizona's going to have to do some heavy lifting. And I think they certainly can, because Carolina looks like they've got one of the worst defenses in the league, again. And so it may be the way to play it. I feel like Arizona is just going to blister them this weekend. I felt like that I don't feel like that Arizona played very well against New Orleans, but some of that could be New Orleans. But I still believe in Arizona, still believe that they've added some pieces. I still like Jonathan Gannon. We're going to see how they are as a home team. Arizona is not really a field that has got a great home field advantage, but I think in this case, I think it could be. I'm with you.
All right. Next game, Uncle Phil, we got the Denver Broncos at the Indianapolis Colts. I had the Colts getting 3.5. I have the Colts plus 3.5.
Seems about right. I went a little bit lower. I put the Colts plus 2.5, and I put a total of 41.
Mm-hmm. You nailed it. It's actual is the Colts plus 2.5.
Oh, wow.
And our total's 42.5.
42.5.
Yep.
To me, gosh, I don't know. What do you think about that game?
I like Daniel Jones. When the Steelers were desperate looking for a Q, I was kind of hoping they would get him. I like how things worked out, but I was happy to see Daniel Jones have a good week last week. I think he's got potential. Jonathan Taylor, he's always there. They got a good tight end now. That's the actual pick is tough for me. I think this one's going to be an under.
I'm with you. I think that's where I see the opportunity as well. Look, I don't know how good. I'm glad to see Daniel Jones go to Shane Steichen. I think Shane Steichen is the quarterback whisperer. I think that Anthony Richardson was a bust. Again, they took him too early. Again, you have these quarterbacks that play few snaps, like Mitch Trubisky, Trey Lance, Anthony Richardson, all played limited snaps in college, and these people take flyers on them after 1 year, and all of a sudden they're like, hey, let's make them a first-round draft pick, and all of a sudden you're like, what happened? I'm like, what do you mean? What are you doing? I mean, you know, quarterbacks are a 50% bust rate anyway. Why handicap yourself and just take a 1 year swing at things from college? So I think that's what they've done. Look, I like Daniel Jones here as well. We'll see how he's going to do. I mean, it certainly kind of looks bad if he's able to thrive in the Indianapolis Colts and did not do well at all at in the Giants, where everybody, you know, and myself included, really like Brian Daboll and really think he is a great coach. But it would look bad for him if Daniel Jones actually succeeds. You know, again, first quarterback since 1978 to have 7 possessions and score points on all 7 possessions. Never had. Yeah, so we'll see how that turns out. I'm interested to see, again, was that Miami or is that actual Daniel Jones? We'll see about that. You know, but if Bo Nix does not play any better than he did last week, then Indianapolis is going to win this, and all of a sudden we're going to be looking at an Indianapolis team that is the front runner in the AFC South.
Yeah, and too many questions there for me to you know, pick a side. That's why I like that total, that under.
Yeah, I'm with you. I like that.
Okay, 13 here, Uncle Phil. We have Philadelphia Eagles at the Kansas City Chiefs. I have the Chiefs getting 2. Kansas City +2.
I thought that Kansas City would be +1, and I will take 46.5.
So the actual is Chiefs getting 1.5, and our total is in fact 46.5.
Okay. Well, what do you think about this game? I mean, this is, you know, 2 teams that really should be 0-1. You know, the 2 people that are facing each other, the Super Bowl and the champion, Super Bowl runner-up, that are facing each other that really should be 0-1. And Philadelphia looks like they've got plenty of holes. Obviously, they're having Jalen Carter back. The NFL said, hey, we're just going to take a game check from you. We're going to say time served because you essentially didn't play anything in the first game. So that's your 1-game suspension. Chiefs, on the other hand, Xavier Worthy, dislocated shoulder. It's day-to-day, may come back. I can't see him playing this week after a dislocated shoulder out. Obviously, Rashee Rice still serving a suspension. Neither one of these secondaries impressed me at all. You know, it was Dallas Cowboys were literally, their wide receivers were literally fighting to line up against Adoree Jackson. You know, it was just kind of a mess. So I don't know. I mean, Patrick Mahomes is still Patrick Mahomes and still makes the wow plays, but it just doesn't feel like there was a lot around him. And Chris Jones, you know, you double team him and nobody else could get a pass rush for Kansas City. So, but again, I'm sure Philadelphia Eagles line had a lot to do with that. You know, or with or not Philadelphia, but the Chargers line, and I think the Philadelphia offensive line is just as good, if not better, than the Chargers. So, what do you think? How do you think this game plays out?
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, their O-line incredible. I like their secondary maybe a little bit more than you do.
Yeah,
I'm a big fan of Cooper DeJean and Blankenship. I think they punch above their weight, and you know, they're just all over the place. I feel like whenever I'm watching, they're making plays. I love those guys. You know, I'll tell you, Uncle Phil, it's going to be a fun one to watch.
Yeah,
but I think I'm sitting on the sidelines for this one.
Yeah,
this is a tough pick for me.
Look, I think it's going to be really interesting, but I mean, you know, can you imagine the Chiefs starting off 0-2? I mean, that's surprising.
When was the last time that happened?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's really interesting. I mean, they got to kind of feel like their back's against the wall. I mean, because this is, you know, I mean, it's early, and I'm not going to get too hyperbolic about things, but again, that AFC West is strong this year. All teams are 1-0 except for the Chiefs, and they're sitting at an unfamiliar place looking up it's week one. Let's not overreact. But, I mean, they are looking up at everybody else, and all the other teams looked good. Chargers look to be the best of that division.
Yeah.
I'm sure that Sean Payton will get Bo Nix back together again, and that'll be better. But it'll be interesting to see how that one plays out. I'm excited to see it. If I did anything, I'd probably look at the total and go a little bit over that. I think there's going to be some points scored.
All right. Let's see here. We have the Atlanta Falcons at the Vikings. I have the Vikings -3.
Vikings -3. I will say, I'll say Vikings 4.5, and I'll say 43.5.
Actual is Vikings -3.5, and our total is 44.5.
Okay. You were right on that one. Yeah, well, since you were right on it, tell me how this one's going to play out.
Well, I told you before, Falcons are my dark horse. I like the Falcons. I've never, I don't think I've ever picked NFC South teams like I have been feeling about them this year. Vikings just barely came alive there at the end against the Bears. In the beginning of the game, we thought JJ McCarthy, might not turn into anything, fall into that 50% bust category.
Right.
And then just the composure. So impressed with him and what he did to finish that game. Wow. I think the Vikings, they're probably going to win. But I think the Falcons will cover.
Man, I love watching Penix. I think he's fun. He feels like he is the bigger, stronger, more athletic Tua, right? Because he is that guy, and he can just throw the ball. He can spin it. I love watching him play. I mean, again, the only issue for me right now is the right tackle position for the Falcons. Again, right tackle lost for the year. Their swing tackle out for about 6 weeks. And, of course, that's Penix's blind side, right? And, again, Bijan Robinson, of course, their fundamental offense they run there is this outside zone run, right? So it's obviously around the end. That's where they go. But he does have a favorite side. It's about 73% of the time those outside zone runs of Bijan's go to the right side. And so that's a hindrance to the offense. I like them. I kind of feel like that they should have come away with a win this past weekend. You kind of pulled for that, but it feels like Tampa Bay's just kind of got their number. Younghoe Koo, has been this great reliable kicker. Wasn't a little shaky last year. That's kind of carried over. You see how life as a kicker, your stay becomes very fragile when you are shaky because truth be known, the teams pretty much hate kickers. They just do. They're just there. They're really kind of just off doing their things where the teams are just running and just sweating and doing all this stuff. The kickers are just kind of hanging out, just
except for Boswell.
Yeah, except for Boswell. Now he's a serial killer, right?
Yeah.
And so just unbelievable. But as long as you're making kicks and you're that guy, then you're the guy and you fit around. You fit very well in the organization, the team. But once you start missing stuff, it doesn't take long for you to become ostracized.
Yeah. Well, Bijan's going to have to make some sharp cuts this week, but I like them. I like them to cover.
Yeah.
All right. Tampa Bay Bucks at the Texans. I got Texans +5.
Monday night football. So this is good. We're talking about Tampa Bay. Like it. It'd be interesting to see how these teams are. Again, wasn't super impressed with Tampa. Definitely not impressed with Houston. I was this biggest CJ Stroud fan when he came in the league the first year. Felt sorry for him a little bit last year. Then he started kind of blaming people. And, it's kind of like Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams said, I didn't have anybody to watch film with last year. Started blaming people. CJ Stroud kind of did the same thing. Made sure the offensive line got changed. The offensive coordinator, Bobby Slowick, was gone. Now he's got Nick Caley, came in from the Rams. Got a whole new offensive line. and they still look like garbage. They look like they're the same one. I think, Indianapolis, I'm glad I made them one of my playoff picks out of there. Although I had them finish second in the South, I had them making the playoffs. I think they probably win the South right now because I just don't. I mean, Houston still looks like garbage. CJ Stroud is still blaming everybody. Got to the mic again. It's like Jalen Hurts and Dak always say everything right at the microphone, right? I mean, it's just like boom, boom, boom. We're going to do it. We're going to win as a team, lose as a team. Everybody around us, we're doing the right things. And what does CJ Stroud get up there and do? First thing CJ Stroud said, well, everybody was lollygagging. And I'm like, dude, what are you doing? I mean, you're the leader of the team. You got to be doing this. You got to take it on your shoulders and say, look, my fault. I got to get better. We'll get better as a team. We're going to do better. And I'm gonna make sure this happens. And you got to be that guy. And you're like, you get around, you go, hell yeah, we'll rally around that and we'll get it done and do it. But that's just not the approach he takes. It'll be interesting to see how this one goes. I've got this one. I didn't even tell you what I guessed. I put Tampa Bay -2.5, and I've got Houston -2.5 and a total at 41. What did you say?
So I had the Texans +5. I was way off.
You're down on them.
The actual is the Texans +2.5.
Texans +2.5.
And our total is 42.5.
Wow. Okay. That's surprising. How do you see this game playing out?
I think the Bucs will cover. Yeah, the Texans, I mean, Stroud, I don't think he's going to return to his rookie form that fast. Like you said, offensive line's got problems.
Correction. It is Houston -2.5.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Phil.
It's all good. But still, your whole thing is that Tampa Bay will cover. Is what you think it'll happen?
Yes.
You think you're winning this game?
Yeah. I think the Bucs are too much for them. Even with that defense as fast and as good as it is, Baker, he seems to really like Emeka Egbuka. And
what do you think about him for Rookie of the Year? Do you think that's worth a ticket, or do you think
he's probably going to be in the top 3?
Yeah, I mean, he's
right up there. Yeah.
It's like him, Cam Ward. I mean, who else is challenging for Rookie of the Year, Offensive Rookie of the Year?
Yeah.
I mean, clearly he's a target, caught 2 touchdown passes, looked really good.
Yeah.
What do you think the difference is in this game, though?
I could see the Bucs winning by a touchdown.
They're going to have to get that line fix, or Houston's going to be on the losing end of a lot of games. And potentially, you could almost see if Jacksonville's for real, then Jacksonville and Indy fighting it out, and Houston actually sliding to 3rd.
Yeah,
I mean, you could certainly see that happening. I mean, it would be shocking to see that happen. I don't want D'Amico Ryans to succeed, but leadership starts at the top, and I don't like what I'm seeing. There's a lot of things you see with Kyler Murray that you don't like outside. Not as serious about football. Kind of same things about Caleb Williams. It was a great article, 3-part series. If you guys haven't seen it yet, Google it. It's by Tyler Dunn. It is a really good article on the Bears and Caleb Williams. Really eye-opening stuff about that. But again, and you can't starting to see some things like that with CJ Stroud potentially. So I'll be interested to see how that plays out. But look, I'm with you. I don't know if I'll play it, but if I did, it's Bucs or nothing. Yeah, with you.
All right, we'll round it out with the Chargers and the Raiders. We got Chargers in Vegas at the Raiders. I had the Raiders getting 1.5. Raiders +1.5.
Okay. I've got it. I have got Chargers 2.5. No, I'm sorry, 3.5 and 45.
So the actual Chargers -3 and total 46.5.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
What do you think about this game?
I think the Raiders are going to make it closer than you'd think. I know Genty didn't have a stellar game last week, but like everybody, I'm pretty high on him and think he'll do well.
Sure.
Gino, Pete Carroll, have faith in him. It's in Vegas. I mean, the Chargers, yeah, they look like the real deal against KC, but this game almost feels like a trap game of sorts for me.
It kind of does. Again, that letdown game from that emotional game with Kansas City. You finally got over the hump. You beat your nemesis, the team that you just don't beat, and you beat them even without Rashawn Slater, the all-world left tackle. And everybody thought the offensive line was going to be an issue. Really not an issue. It worked perfectly. But again, I'm with you. This seems like, again, one of those AFC West games where the Raiders are frisky. Pete Carroll is amazing with teams, especially the first few years. He kind of repeats his stories after that. And then teams have kind of heard it over again. They've heard the same stories. It kind of wears on them. But I think Pete has a chance to go on a good run here because these guys haven't heard his stories, and he is definitely a huge motivator. To your point, I like Genty as well. Pete Carroll came out and said today that Genty said he was overhyped for the game, being his first NFL game, and he just wasn't as patient in the hole as he should have been. And I think you'll see a different Genty coming back. He'll settle down. I think you'll see an opportunity for him to get some runs this week, or get some yards this week on the ground, get some good carries. I think they're going to do. Pretty decent. I think that this is potential to be a really good team, and I like the way this West. I think it's going to be super competitive. How do you think the West is actually going to shake out? If you had to look at it now, do you think Kansas City comes back to the top and wins it again, or do you think there's a little bit of changing of the guard?
I think with the full body of work, I think I still like the Chargers, to end up on top. They're just good in so many places. But just like this game, I think the Raiders are going to have a better season than most people would think. If you invest anything in the psychological part of this stuff,
Sure.
Just having Tom Brady part of that organization and him floating around and
changed everything.
Others, it's a totally different feel.
I'm so glad you brought that up. That's such a good point, because when Tom Brady walked in there, you all of a sudden saw got the right coach in. You brought in Geno Smith. You started seeing for the first time with the Raiders. You started seeing grown-up decisions in the building that are being made, that are constructing this, and they've always been this very prideful, scrappy team that is just a player away from beating everybody. They've given Kansas City fits the past few years, even when they've not had the right quarterback and not had the right coach, and they still beat them and are almost beat them. And so now that they've come back, this is, they're potentially a little bit of a sleeping giant there. I'm excited about what they're going to build. Obviously, Geno Smith did great last week. Geno Smith, what did he do? He was 24-34, 71%. Again, NFL elite. We already know Herbert was NFL elite last week. Geno Smith passed for 362. Herbert threw last week for 318. I think there's some points scored. This should be a fun game. I'm with you, though. I'd lean toward the underdog. I think you just you did a great assessment of that. So I'm just going to follow your lead on that one.
I don't know about that, but maybe together we'll figure this out.
Yeah. Matt, I think we've called it. I feel like that, Sticks has been a phenomenal addition to us, and certainly he's made our show better, and he's made me better. So it's glad to have you on board, and it's going to be a fun season.
Definitely. I really enjoyed sitting back and listening to you guys hash it out for the last hour and 21 minutes. So very entertaining. Thanks for kind of doing my job while I sit back and relax like the rest of the audience. But before you guys wrap up, I want to keep hearing you guys talk. Any final thoughts before we head into week 2?
Yeah. Sticks, what about you? Do you have any final thoughts?
Like I said,
week one was such a fireworks show. Felt like every game was kind of, okay, you thought that game was good? We're going to do this game, and it's going to be great.
That's the season.
Yeah.
The season,
Yeah.
I mean, the storylines, the trades. And yeah, I'm partial, because I'm following the Steelers so closely,
Right.
and this is the most atypical Steelers year like ever. So maybe that's part of it, but it does feel like it's all around the league, and so much talent, so many great coaches. I mean, this is a different NFL. I mean, any of these teams can win any week, and it's just it's a beautiful thing, and it's fun to watch.
Yeah, it is. Like I said, you and I covered this week or during the show, is that went a little longer tonight just because there's 16 games, but I think everybody enjoyed it. I certainly did. It was so much fun, but you never know what you're going to get because each game has something. And that's a great thing about the NFL. The NFL, by far and away, the best professional sports league in the entire world. It's just outstanding, and that's what makes the league so great. But Matt, hey, thanks for hosting tonight and always taking the lead for us. Sticks, John, my very, very good friend. It's great to have you aboard. I'm excited about this year, guys. Thanks for everybody tuning in. This has been just a great night, and guys, we're going to see you Saturday morning for my best bets. Join me in the Railbird. We do college, and then join me on Sunday morning. We're going to do the same thing for best bets, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Have a great evening, and as always, guys, let's roll.